The moment you tell people you're together, your brain locks you in. That announcement just made it 10 times harder to leave, even if everything inside you is screaming, "This isn't right." You don't notice it happening. You make the relationship official. You change your status. You introduce them to your friends. Each step feels like progress, but each step is also building a cage. Not because the relationship is good, because you've publicly committed. Now leaving means admitting you were wrong. Explaining to everyone what happened, facing the questions and the judgment. So you stay longer than you should. You ignore red flags you'd never ignore if you were still dating casually. You've been thinking the problem is the relationship itself, but the real trap is the commitment you announced before you knew if it would work. And that trap is keeping you stuck in something that stopped feeling right months ago. This is called commitment bias in relationships. Research shows people stay in relationships an average of 2 years longer once they've made a public commitment, even when they're unhappy. Your brain doesn't evaluate the relationship based on how it feels now. It evaluates it based on how much you've already invested. The time, the emotional energy, the public announcement, the merged friend groups. Your brain treats all of that as evidence that leaving would be wasteful. This evolved because consistency signaled reliability. People who kept their word survived in groups. People who changed their minds got cast out. So your brain learned to stick with decisions once they're public. The problem is sticking with a bad relationship isn't reliability. It's self-betrayal. Your brain thinks it's protecting your reputation. It's actually protecting a choice that's hurting you. Watch what happens when doubt creeps in. You're lying next to them and something feels off. The connection isn't there. You're not happy. But then your brain reminds you of everything you've built. The apartment you share. The vacation you planned. The fact that you told your family this is serious. The doubt gets overridden by the investment. So you push it down. Or they do something that bothers you. Your instinct is to address it. But your brain says, you can't keep bringing up problems. You're committed now. Committed people make it work. So you let it go. The issue doesn't disappear. It just goes underground where it grows. And here's what nobody tells you about this. The longer you stay, the harder it gets to leave. You stay another 6 months. Now you've invested that time too. You stay another year. Now you've got shared finances. You stay another 2 years. Now leaving means dismantling a life. The commitment isn't getting stronger because the relationship is getting better. It's getting stronger because you've sunk more cost into it. You're trapped in a cycle where staying creates more investment, which makes leaving feel more wasteful, which makes you stay longer, which creates even more investment. Your brain is running software from 10,000 years ago on today's problems. Most people think this is about not wanting to be alone, so they work on being okay with being single. They practice independence. But that's like learning to swim while you're already drowning. The real issue isn't fear of being alone. It's that leaving a public commitment feels like proving you failed, that you wasted time, that you made a mistake everyone will see. Nobody wants to be the person who couldn't make it work, so you keep trying to make it work long after it's clear it won't. This bias survives because society rewards staying and punishes leaving. Couples who make it long-term get celebrated. People who leave get questioned. Did you try hard enough? Did you give it a real chance? Maybe you're too picky. Plus, admitting you're in the wrong relationship feels like admitting you don't know yourself. That threatens your identity as someone who makes good choices. And if you left, you'd have to rebuild. New routines, new plans, new explanations to everyone who knew you as part of a couple. Your brain would rather stay in familiar unhappiness than face that level of upheaval. But here's where it gets interesting. People who leave relationships that aren't working don't care less about commitment. They define commitment differently. You think commitment means staying no matter what. They think commitment means being honest about what is. You're committed to the decision you made. They're committed to the person they're becoming. The difference isn't loyalty. It's whether you're loyal to a choice or loyal to your truth. You measure success by how long you stay. They measure it by whether staying is making you both better. Leaving isn't failing the commitment. Staying in something wrong is failing yourself. So the next time you're lying awake wondering if you should stay and your brain starts listing all the reasons why leaving would be wasteful, you'll know what's really happening. Your brain is running the math on sunk costs. It's calculating all the time and energy and public announcements you've made. But sunk costs aren't a reason to stay. They're just costs that are already gone. The question isn't how much you've invested, it's whether investing more makes sense. Now you can catch it. You can feel that pull to stay because you've already committed and ask, is this actually working, or am I just protecting a decision I made before I knew better? You're not trying to give up. Easier? You're just separating the choice to commit from the question of whether this is right. You started this video thinking, staying showed strength. Now, sometimes staying just shows you're more committed to saving face than being honest. That's not a small shift. That's understanding the difference between loyalty and self-abandonment. Understanding this bias is just the beginning. There's another one that's even more powerful, and most people never see it coming. Join the thousands of people who are finally understanding why they do what they do.